Different people have different genetics for building muscle. That means some people might be able to grow their ass and their quads with just 10 sets of heavy squats per week, while some people need to isolate them with leg extensions and all these machine works to even see a slight growth. The same, some people might build massive arms just by doing a shit ton of compound movements and sprinkle in some isolations once every 2 weeks, while most people need to isolate them a lot more to see consistent growth. So is there a solid framework that when applied, we can be absolutely sure that the muscle we train is growing? Yes, there is, and in this video I want to explain to you exactly how it looks. But before we begin, why should you even listen to me? My name is Karol. I have 6 years of experience in strength training and building muscle. I've tested countless different training methodologies. I've failed hundreds of times. I found a way to enjoy every single training session, and in the end I have built my 10 out of 10 physique without ever obsessing about bodybuilding. If you want to build a top 1% physique while having fun at the gym and finally start seeing consistent and predictable progress, is the top link in the description. Okay, so let's start discussing the muscle building framework I created 30 seconds ago. The first topic, compounds or isolations. I remember seeing a study where there were 3 groups of people. The first group were doing just back squats, barbell back squats. The second group was doing leg extensions. And the third group was doing back squats and isolations, so combining both. And note that in each group the weekly volume was sufficient to grow muscle. I think it was even the same. Which group do you think grew the most muscle? Some people might say the group with isolations, because isolations are more effective for building muscle generally. But it was actually the group that combined the isolations and compound movements. They grew the most. And we don't really know why that happened. We don't really know why compound movements increase the growth when combined with isolations, but we know that it happens. So the best way to grow any muscle, do isolations and do compound movements. For example, if you want to build biceps, do chin-ups and then do bicep curls. The second question, how much volume? How much should you do in order to see muscle growth for certain? Basically, most people online say that you should do between 10 and 20 sets per week for a muscle group. And that's generally true, but honestly, from my experience and to what I see at the gym, most beginners just do too much. That's right, not too little, too much. There are credible people on the internet saying that all you need to grow muscle are even 8 sets per week, like 8, 10, 12 sets per week. Many people say that is sufficient to grow muscle. But if you want to be absolutely sure your muscle is growing, I would recommend going to 15 sets per week and not going above that. Because doing more than 15 sets per week will be equivalent with doing some compromises. Because if you want to do more than 15 sets per week, building the work capacity necessary to do that will take you solid few weeks, maybe even months. And if you don't want to wait, you must sacrifice some other exercises instead. So to summarize quickly, 10 sets per week usually should be enough to grow any muscle, but if you want to be absolutely certain, for example, if you really prioritize building your biceps because it sticks out the most in your physique, then do 15 sets, and I guarantee you that will be enough. And also, depending on how many sets per week you do, you should also choose an adequate amount of different exercises, different variations, because you can't do just 15 sets of bicep curls per week. I mean, you can, but you're risking an overuse injury right here. So what I would recommend, pick the amount of weekly sets you're planning to do and divide that number by 3 or 4. And that is how many variations you need to do. It's very good to do every one variation for 3 or 4 sets only once per week. So let's say you really want to grow your biceps. You plan to do 15 sets for biceps per week. How many exercises and what even should you do? First of all, I would train my arms 2 times per week. And on one day I would do 4 sets of chin-ups. And on the second day I would do 4 sets of neutral grip pull-ups. And we already have 8 sets for the biceps. So we still need to do 7 sets. So on our first day we could do 3 sets of barbell bicep curls with both hands at the same time. And on the second day we could do 4 sets of unilateral bicep curls. And this way, we have 15 sets per week. The recovery shouldn't be that big of a problem. You should be able to progress nicely on every single workout. And we have 15 sets. We combine compounds with isolations, so we can be absolutely sure that we will grow. And the third topic, probably most important to be honest, how intense should you go? Okay, so this is the point that probably most people get wrong. The thing is, if you want to grow your muscles as effectively as possible, you should reach an absolute failure on all of your sets. But if your weight is so low that it allows you to do more than 10 reps, then achieving muscular failure gets complicated. The lactic acid really kicks in, and you really need a lot of willpower and discipline to actually achieve that muscular failure. That is why many beginners do like 15 reps and they stop, because they are certain that they just achieved muscular failure, while actually the lactic acid buildup was just so high that their willpower gave up. And that actually wasn't really a muscular failure. So how to deal with that problem? Basically, you want to stay below 10 or at most 12 reps. You never want to do anything with more than 10 to 12 reps, because it's just very taxing on your willpower to achieve failure at that point. So every isolation you do, every compound movement you do, stay below 12 reps. And how do you know that you actually achieved a muscular failure? Basically, there is a very simple way to know that. When you do your reps and finally one rep really significantly slows down, like usually they can take you like 1 second to get it up, and now in rep 9 for example, it takes you a solid fucking 3 seconds and some mental straining to get it up. And that is when you stop. You don't do another rep because it would very likely be failed. And that would just unnecessarily overload your central nervous system. So you stop on that very slow rep. And then you can basically treat that set as if you have achieved a muscular failure, because technically you did. And you should do that with isolations. But when it comes to compound movements, doing them to failure honestly really strains your central nervous system. So what I would recommend is to do your compound movements 1 rep away from failure. So when you do, for example, 6 chin-ups, and you feel like you could do 1 more rep. Like it wouldn't be a beautiful rep, you would probably kick a little bit, but you feel like you could squeeze out that 1 more rep with some kicking. And that is exactly when you should stop on compound movements. Leave that 1 junky rep in the tank on compound movements, and with isolations, as I said, go all the way until the rep significantly slows down. And this is how intense you should go with every single set. This is very important. So many people train at the gym very hard, but they pretty much never reach the muscular physique. And I look at these people, bro, you're gonna look exactly the same in 1 year. And the thing is, many beginners, like, I don't understand that, but when I come up to them and I give them like friendly advice, bro, you gotta push harder, they do like 2 more reps in a set, and I still see that they have so much more in the tank. So this is so important to just reach that failure. This is the most important thing when it comes to building muscle, remember that. So if you combine all of these 3 things correctly, I can guarantee you that you will grow. And to summarize everything, first thing, combine isolations with compound movements. Second thing, do at least 10 quality sets per week. And if you really want to make sure you will get the gains, do 15 sets per week. And the third thing, with isolations, go to failure, which means go until your last rep significantly slows down. And with compound movements, go until you feel like you could squeeze out 1 more junky rep. And this is it. If you want to learn how to develop a top 1% physique and finally start progressing in a predictable and consistent way every single week, is the top link in the description. I hope you found it helpful. Peace out.